Skill set wise, one of the best that we've seen, 100% one of the best that we've seen. Hey everyone, it's Armor Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Legends. Welcome to a monster analysis on the upcoming maze monster from the Raiders of the Storm maze, Lindworm. This is by far one of the most anticipated monsters. This monster is going to be completely free to play. Every single player has a chance to get this monster in as little as 2 to 3 days of work. So you better put in all your effort during this next maze event. With that being said, now that the monster's stats are out, his relics are out, and his everything is out, we can talk about how good this monster is going to be. Alright, the legendary villains have been looking for a cosmic ally to turn the tables in their favor again, and it looks like they finally found one. Lindworm is a mysterious dragon who can play with time, space, and portals, and they've learned the hard way. Now it's about one portal in particular. Maybe Lindworm can help them get rid of the end of the cosmic era, and end the cosmic era. So here we have Lindworm. Lindworm is a fast dark support. I don't think I'd call him a fast dark support. I would call him a deny monster, who gives extra turns to allies, applies baby reversion to enemies, and activates cooldowns. That is amazing. He does a lot. He has an evolving trait. At rank 0 he's hardened, great umbrella trait to have. At rank 1 he's immune to cooldown activation. This is awesome. I don't know how many cooldown activation monsters we have. I do have a list of them somewhere. Dr. Watts comes to mind. There's a few that have status caster cooldown activation immunity. To be honest, not a lot of many monsters have it. Not a lot of meta monsters have it. So to get a monster that has it, automatically protected against Kodama, Siamese, Glamhead, Gaidaigo. This is really great because cooldown activation has been one of the main metas so far. At rank 3 you get a status caster immune to possession at the start of every battle. This is very nice too because right now Black Feather comes to mind. He's the fast AoE possession monster. So it's nice to have an immunity to cooldown activation, an immune to one of the main deny skills, possession in this case, and then you also have harden, so an umbrella, 20% chance to not get hit with all negative effects. So that's good. Let's talk stats real quick. His life stat is 72,988. This is actually on the lower end, tied with that of Aatrox. It's actually the second lowest life stat, once again tied with Aatrox. The only life stat that is lower than this is the life stat of 72,384, which does belong to a handful of monsters: Dialga, Vanoss, Kodama, Thunderkong, and Heist. So yeah, he's pretty squishy. His power stat is 7392. This is actually the lowest of all the cosmics, tied with that of Ignis, the first team race monster. But then we have an amazing speed stat of 5962. This is officially the second fastest monster in the game, and because he has a deny skill, he is the fastest denier in the game. The only monster faster than this monster is Ignis. Ignis is faster by a few points, 5984. So yeah, just a couple points. So overall, Lindworm, squishy life, not a strong attacker, but super fast. And what makes this monster even more incredible, I already went over the trait, this monster can actually hold the Essence Relic. He can revive if this monster dies. Why is Social Point giving revival to all these amazing strong monsters? So yeah, if this monster dies, he can come back. He can also hold the Staff Relic, which is super relevant because Cane of Atlantis probably being the most relevant thing. If you get your stamina drained, there are so many relics that can drain your stamina. Ondana can drain your stamina. You can hold a Cane of Atlantis and recover your stamina. This is one monster where the Pump Seed Staff wouldn't really be that beneficial. You're definitely better off with Cane of Atlantis. So with Lindworm, you can't activate his cooldowns. Unless you remove the possession immunity, you can't possess him. If you stamina drain him, Cane of Atlantis can recover, and if you kill him, he revives with the Essence Relic. That is phenomenal. In terms of books, he's a Dragon, Evil Legions, and Villain. Because he's in the Villain book, that also gives a higher priority to Daigal, right? He is going to be one of the main monsters in terms of attackers. Probably the strongest attacker we have right now, because he can take on Solar Flare, he can take on Lindworm, he can take on Bomb Beta. So Daigal is getting more and more stronger as more and more of these villain monsters get released. Alright, with that being said, let's talk skills. We have Time Curse, deals moderate direct damage, applies curse to an enemy. This requires no cooldown, not that you can even get hit with cooldowns. Costs 17 stamina, and it is just a single curse skill. That is pretty nice for a default skill. Countdown is a spammable skill, costs no stamina, and it activates Death Countdown. My personal opinion, Death Countdown is not a really strong mechanic. We've seen Death Countdown with Morgs, and it just doesn't really work out because you don't really need to stall a game out for 3 turns. There's just so much that can happen in 3 turns. If you can't deny, if you can't stun, freeze, chain possess, chain deny, it just doesn't work out. The enemy might cleanse the death countdown. You're better off running an attacker, although there are situations where you can just, I can imagine a team with this monster on Dana, and you're just you're turning them to babies, you're stamina draining them, and then the death countdown can take effect. But this skill itself, I don't like the single target 3-turn death countdown. Era Traveler activates all cooldowns on one enemy. I like this because it's just single activation. Hey, I need to target you, I need to activate your cooldowns. So Era Traveler is a pretty cool deny skill. Revert Event deactivates all cooldowns on one ally, removes all negative effects from one ally, requires cooldown. I really like this skill because right now when we have monsters that are immune to cooldown activation, they don't have a cooldown deactivation skill, and we finally have one. You know, even when you think of an old legendary like Captain Copperbeard has a skill that resets the cooldown on your team, but if he gets hit with CDA, what does it matter having that kind of skill? So I like that this monster himself is immune to CDA, and then you can deactivate the cooldowns on one of your ally. So if you're battling a Siamese that does AoE cooldown activation against your team, you can go next in the turn order and deactivate the cooldown on the monster that you want to get a turn in. So I think that's awesome. I think that's great. Aside from just deactivating the cooldown, you also remove all negative effects. So yeah, this monster is amazing. Even if you're facing a Black Feather and Black Feather does AoE possession and you have your status caster at rank 3, you don't get possessed, and then you can actually remove possession from whoever Black Feather attacked with the possession. So I mean, he's anti-deny when it comes to CDA and possession because of these two skills. And heck, even the fact that he has Harden, maybe the enemy does AoE stun, and thanks to your Harden trait, you don't get stunned, and then you cleanse the stun from one of your allies. So tier 1 is already off to a really good start. Moving on to tier 2, we have Age Overseer. No, Age Oversee. Deals low dark damage to all enemies, applies curse, and transforms all enemies into babies. This is really good. It's not too often that we see babies. Again, we haven't seen it like Kronks. This monster is essentially Kronks 2.0. So let's start off with curse. Best DOT in the game, hands down. Removes 10% of HP and stamina on turn 1, and then 20% on turn 2, and then 40% on turn 3. So overall, that is 30, 40, 70% of HP and stamina removed over the course of 3 turns. Now the cool thing about this is that you also transform the enemy into a baby. So on turn 1, the enemy is going to have cursed and be a baby. So when it's their turn, they're going to lose 10% of HP and stamina. And then when it's their turn again, they turn into an adult and they lose 20% of HP and stamina. So that is awesome. With that being said though, the bad thing about baby is that when an enemy monster is a baby, you cannot target the monster. So you're pretty much giving them a guaranteed turn in, just another turn into the future. Now, one of the good things about this is that this is a way to actually counter Megaton monsters, because if you transform a Megaton monster into a baby, then that monster is like essentially no longer in play, so you're able to attack the allies. So the reason this is really good is because right now, for example, the way I deal with Megatons is I basically, well, this is just in particular with my team, I do Siamese to remove the Megatons, and then I attack whoever I want. Or if it's a taunt monster specifically, so to talk about Solar Flare, if you turn Solar Flare to a baby, the taunt is essentially out of the game. Right now, the way I deal with it is by using on Dana and trade disabling, but then my other monster has to attack. So it's pretty nice that I can just trade disable. So in a way, transforming the monster into baby works like trade disable for a turn. So I do like that, but again, the downside is you are essentially guaranteeing that monster gets a turn in the future, although the curse will take effect, draining a total of 30% of HP and stamina. So overall, I like it. Obviously, there's no Megaton monster. Every one of the enemy monsters transforms to a baby. In the meantime, you can set up. You can use the self-buff skill. You can set up a Megaton. You can do whatever you need to make sure that the enemy doesn't kill you when they get their turn in. Moving on, we have Greater Times Curse. This deals moderate dark damage to one enemy, applies curse to one enemy, and removes positive effects. I like this skill a lot too because it is a cleansing skill. You know, if you do Age Oversee and then you do Greater Times Curse, the bad thing is you'll restate the curse, but the good thing is you can remove positive effects. So, you know, maybe you're battling a Megaton monster and you don't want to transform the Megaton monster into a baby, then you just do your Greater Times Curse to get rid of the Megatons and go from there, see what your team can do. So, lots of versatility with this monster. On tier 3, we have Time Scourge. This skill applies a 3-turn death countdown to enemies, applies space, time, and evasion to type, requires cooldown. So this skill is very interesting. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the 3-turn death countdown. I don't think you need it. The space, time, and evasion I think is redundant. You don't need. Space, time, and evasion are essentially the same thing, with evasion being better because it blocks everything. I think the reason they kept space time is because it goes with the whole lore of this monster, right? The whole mechanic. He is the space time lord essentially. So I think that's why Social Point put space time. And I guess space time does last for 2 turns, whereas evasion is only for 1 turn. So for one turn, you're protected against everything, and for the second turn, you're protected against damage output, which is nice. So I'll give it up. Oh, so, you know, it's not bad with the space time and evasion. And then we have Sequence Bender, which just does a turn transfer skill, which is phenomenal. So this is literally the second fastest monster in the game, fastest denier in the game, and he can turn transfer. So what does this mean? This means that you can essentially run a team speed denier, your true denier, right? Let's say this monster, because of the fact this monster can't deny if there's a Megaton, right? Maybe you're running on Dana with 3 team speed, and you have this monster go first in the turn order. Sequence Bender, turn transfer over to Ondana. Ondana does Selfish Bladder, gets rid of Megatons, and then Raw Drowning, and then does the AoE Drown and Stamina Drain. Or Water Swirl, and then Charizard's Amulet, 100% Stamina Drain. So the number of combos this is going to open up with is insane. Maybe you have Black Feather, but you weren't able to get Black Feather ranked up. So unfortunately, you know, you're like, oh man, I can never use Black Feather to denier. Hey, run Black Feather, 3 team speed, run your Hardy with 3 speed or any other monster, right? And then Black Feather does Flying Spirit, your Hardy's Anticipation activates, your other teammate's Anticipation activates. The fact that a super fast monster has turn transferring to me is insane. That basically means whatever monster you want is as fast as this monster just because you can turn transfer. Now currently you have to watch out for Hardy because he has Anticipation, although I always punk on Hardy because, let's be honest, Hardy can't really kill. Yes, he's strong and all, but when it's Cosmics and the same levels, everything the same, he's not going to be killing you. The strongest skill he has is a single, like, not to knock on the skill, it is a strong 60 damage curse skill, but that's the strongest skill he has. So I think you can get away with turn transferring. The other monster to watch out for is Miseris, but let's face it, it's Miseris. He actually can't do anything. And of course, you could always bring a Megaton monster, so when Hardy is forced to attack your Megaton monster, the amount of combos you can do with Sequence Bender is mind-blowing. This skill, it's so basic, right? It's just a turn transfer, but because this monster is crazy fast, it makes this probably the best skill. I honestly think this is better than even the Baby Reversion. I think Sequence Bender just opens up so many possibilities. You can turn transfer over to your strong attacker, right? And attack the enemy. You can do so much, right? If your attacker has a setup skill, you can turn transfer over to that attacker, set up, and then the attacker can decimate the enemy monsters. There's just so many things. So Sequence Bender, 100%, it's your must-have skill. So then the cool thing about this monster, again, I don't know why they call him a support. This monster, you give him 3 speed runes, you want him to go first, and you want him to turn transfer to whoever you need to. You want him to baby revert everyone if you need to. Again, baby reversion is not the best deny. Maybe that's why they went with the support. Baby reversion is dangerous because the enemy is going to essentially get a guaranteed turning because you can't target the monster after they're a baby. So you have to be careful with that. And then you have single deny, not AoE deny, so you have to be careful with that as well. So I guess I can kind of see the argument for running this monster as a team speed holder as well. So there's 2 ways to run this monster. 3 speed, have him go first, have him turn transfer into whoever you need to turn transfer. Or what you do with this monster is you run him with 3 team speed, because even with 3 team speed, you can have him go last and do whatever you need to. For example, on turn 1, maybe you activate cooldowns, right, on all the enemy monsters, and then they're forced to recharge. Maybe your third ally maybe does some sort of like, I don't know, dots against the enemy, maybe it's an attack that dealt damage, and then you end off with transforming everyone to a baby, and then they also have Kris on top of that, and maybe they die with the dot damage and everything. That's one way to go about it. So team speed also works. Maybe your denier goes, denies, maybe your support monster goes and removes the deny, and then you turn transfer back into the denier, they can deny again. There's a lot of ways to go about this monster as a team speed holder. Honestly though, if you're getting this monster at rank 0, at rank 1, maybe team speed is going to be the better way to go. But if you can fully rank out this monster, I say for sure, run him 3 speed, and if you're battling Megaton and you can't activate Baby, or you just got to be careful with Baby, yeah, just turn transfer into your main denier. So I think, like, I can see Kodama being 3 team speed and this monster being the awe speed. Just because this monster is faster, you turn transfer into Kodama, Kodama does CDA, and then you kind of go from there. So, I mean, he's a phenomenal monster by sure. Skill set wise, one of the best that we've seen, 100% one of the best that we've seen. Is this monster overpowered? Whew, I don't know about calling him overpowered, because, you know, it's not like if he had a true AoE deny, if he had an AoE cooldown activation, AoE possession, AoE stun, AoE freeze, then I would be worried, especially freeze, because we haven't seen a freeze AoE monster since Abysma, so it'll probably be soon when we see an AoE freeze. And obviously Sluggazoid doesn't count because he was something else. So I think if he would have had a main AoE deny, I would have been more okay with calling him OP. Right now he has a single CDA. He has a baby reversion, which it is a control skill, but again, it has its drawbacks. And then he has his turn transfer, which I think that's the amazing thing about him. The turn transfer is amazing. Secondary skills, he has a self evasion, which can protect him from dying, and then he has the single positive effect removal, which is nice as well. I think what people are 100% going to run are sequence bender. They're going to run that for sure. They're going to run Age Oversee, and they're going to run Era Traveler. And then your fourth and final skill is either going to be events to deactivate cooldowns, because the cool thing about that is, even if you have a main denier, like, let's go again, Kodama. Kodama 3 speed, this monster team speed. Kodama does AoE cooldown activation, and then actually, let's do a different example. Let's talk about, let's say you're running Black Feather. Black Feather does AoE possession, turn 1. The enemy's possessed, they attack each other. Then goes Ignis. Ignis does Consume Virtue, which cleanses and applies vulnerable to the enemy. So now the immunity to possession is gone. And then this monster goes and does Revert Event on your Black Feather. Black Feather is once again able to do AoE possession, and Ignis cleanse the immunity to possession, so then you can AoE possess again. So definitely, yeah, I can see the support on this monster. Even as a team speed, he's amazing. So his skill set is so good that it works with anyone. He's one of those monsters you can plop in anywhere. Soldier Point made him even stronger by adding the Essence Relic and the Staff, so Cane of Atlantis, so you don't got to worry about stamina drain. Is he OP? Oh my gosh, he's definitely one of the best monsters we've seen. Cosmic-wise, he's definitely one of the best. I know players like to call Vanoss OP. I honestly don't even like Vanoss. I think just the fact that he was a cosmic monster with crazy stats going up against legendary cosmics, he looks super powerful. At the end of the day, Vanoss is nothing crazy. Once it's Mythics versus Mythics, Cosmics versus Cosmics, Vanoss is just, he's a regular attacker to me. But this monster, when you look at his skill set, he can be 3 speed, he can be team speed, he can single cooldown activation, he can reset a cooldown, he can reset the cooldowns, he can turn transfer. I think his skill set is definitely the best that we've seen. If anyone disagrees and thinks there's a different Cosmic with a better skill set, I would love to hear it. Maybe you guys think Solar Flare is better, but I don't know. I think this skill set overall is better. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts, especially since he has Essence, he can resurrect and Cane of Atlantis. He's phenomenal. Didn't even go over the ult. Your time has ended. Removes positive effects, curse, mega stun, 3-turn death countdown. I mean, the ult is that game-breaking ult that could potentially kill you, right? Thanks to mega stun, the enemy's immune is stunned for 2 turns, and then the curse. The curse is going to take away 10% of stamina and HP, then 20%, then 40%. I mean, heck, on that 3rd turn, if they even have any stamina, they better be able to do something or they're going to die. So the ultimate is one of those game-changing ultimates, where as long as the enemy monsters aren't immune to stun, they're pretty much dead. Yeah, and I mean, nowadays we have Tabora, and we could, if we see we have an ult, we can trade disable and then mega stun everyone. It's crazy, yeah. Skill set wise, definitely the best skill set we've ever seen on Monster, in my personal opinion. I really want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about Lindworm? And again, he is completely free to play. Every single player has access to this monster, so go and get this monster once the Raider of the Maze, the Raiders of the Storm Maze event starts. Thank you guys very much, and remember to subscribe.